Welcome to our channel. Do not forget to subscribe to receive notifications of all our new videos. The word Job in the Bible means praise. Job is one of the three patriarchs mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus in Matthew 1:12-13. He was the son of Abraham and grandson of Terah. His wife was the daughter of Ishmael, from whom the Arabs are descended, and his children were named after the sons of Ishmael. In another passage, Job is called blessed, which means that God looked favorably upon him. Therefore, we can say that Job was a righteous man who walked with God. His story is recorded in the book of Job, which is the fourth book in the order of the books of the Old Testament. This book is unique in its literary style, poetic language, and deep theological truths. The story of Job is about a righteous man who suffered greatly, but he maintained his faith in God despite all his afflictions. The main character of the book is Job, who is portrayed as a man who feared God and shunned evil. He was blessed with many material possessions, a large family, and a reputation for righteousness among his contemporaries. However, Job's prosperity was short-lived because one day while he was sacrificing to God, he heard that his sons and daughters were killed in a violent windstorm. Immediately afterwards, he received a message from God informing him that everything he had would be taken away. And in the blink of an eye, he went from being a rich man to losing everything. However, this was not the end of his trials, because soon after, Job developed painful sores all over his body, so much so that he had to scrape himself with a piece of pottery to alleviate the pain. Throughout his suffering, Job questioned why God had allowed these things to happen to him, but he never cursed God or turned away from him. Some of Job's friends came to see him and they tried to convince him that he must have done something wrong for God to punish him so severely. They proposed that he should repent of his sins, pray for mercy, and God would restore what he had lost. But Job insisted that he was innocent and did not deserve such punishment. He denied having committed any sin intentionally and affirmed that his integrity was intact. Job argued that it was impossible for God to do evil or for the Almighty to pervert justice. Throughout the book, there are three major characters who play the role of theologians, representing different perspectives on human suffering and the nature of God. The first two tried to convince Job that his suffering was due to some hidden sin, while the third defended Job's innocence and suggested that God had acted unjustly towards him. When Job realized that none of his friends understood what he was going through, he decided to confront God directly and demand an answer. So Job spoke to God, saying, "I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. I have spoken without understanding, things beyond my knowledge, which I cannot fathom. I am only saying what is in man's reach and what we think as we mortals see things." God then responded to Job, asking him, "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundations? Tell me if you understand what the vast, limitless heavens are or who created them. You are still very young and inexperienced, and I have been here only a short time, called you only recently to testify. But now, if you have insight, come on, let us exchange ideas. Or if you are wise, let us gain some knowledge together." After hearing God's words, Job repented with deep humility and acknowledged his own limitations. He recognized that his understanding of God and his own righteousness was flawed. Therefore, Job humbly confessed his ignorance and asked God to forgive him for his presumptuousness. God then restored Job's fortunes and gave him even more than before. He doubled his possessions, gave him twice as many sons and daughters, and his life returned to normal. In the end, the book of Job leaves us with several lessons. One of them is that God is sovereign and we should trust in his wisdom and goodness. Another lesson is that suffering does not always have a clear reason, but we should not allow ourselves to doubt God's love and faithfulness. Finally, we learn that true humility comes when we acknowledge our own ignorance and limitations before God. If you want to go deeper into the study of the Bible, download the guide How to Study the Bible in the New Testament in the description below. We wish you a wonderful day and look forward to seeing you in our next video.